your reaction, please, to the president's statement earlier.
Well, it's great to be with you. I think this is really a conflict that's been brewing for the better part of 50 years. The Chinese are showing their hands. And it comes down to a fundamental philosophy they have as an outgrowth of the Warring States period. That's when Sun Tzu wrote Art of War, which is that there has to be only one hegemon. And so it's not enough for China to prosper. America must fall. And this is the tension in the relationship. It's not how Americans view the world. We have a very positive sum view. No country has done more to alleviate poverty in China than America. But reciprocally, no country has done more to undermine American prosperity than China has.
And you have said time and time again that we are at some sort of undeclared Cold War. Do you see at the moment this a ratcheting up of leverage ahead of, again, eventually some sort of meeting and some sort of deal? Or do you think rare earths are going to become increasingly hard for the Western nations to access?
I think it's going to spread from rare earths to many other things. We have to remember that Chinese make 50% of our generic drugs. What is it going to be like for the average American to choose between fighting for freedom and prosperity and watching their 5-year-old suffer, potentially die from a trivial ear infection? There's a whole swath of capabilities. We've so narrowly focused in the American mindset on the military dimension.
Yes.
But really, this is an industrial dimension. We have to remember that China has subsidized their industry to the tune of roughly 5% of GDP a year. So their businesses are not principally about competing in a fair and open market. Their businesses are about driving shutdown economics. How do I create an industrial base that's so strong that it drives the industrial bases of other countries out of business?
Your focus is and has been re-industrialization, but I think there'd be a lot of value in explaining the role Palantir's playing in that, be it, from a strictly defense point of view, but you also work, with the
more than
sector,
half the business is commercial.
Right.
50 different industries, from energy and mining and pharmaceuticals. We build every Chrysler and BMW and Airbus airframe and HD Hyundai ship. And one of the real lessons here is you have to lean into your asymmetric advantages. In the David versus Goliath battle, the Chinese absolutely have pound for pound more industrial capacity today. Well, what are our asymmetric advantages? We definitely have the best software as a nation in the world. We also have AI. And AI is not about AI. It's not about AGI. It's not about transhumanism. AI is about applying it towards all the other weaknesses that we have. How do you make the American worker 50 times more productive? The normative value here is to give the American worker superpowers so that you can reindustrialize, so that all the things that today we perceive being beyond the efficient frontier of being made in America can be done here. You can look at an example with Panasonic Energy and their battery factory in Sparks, Nevada. You have a 3-year apprenticeship journey to go from being someone you hire off the street, mostly in Reno, they're coming from casino, to managing this high-end, exquisite Japanese technology. Well, with AI, that's 3 months. So you can see how it drives prosperity, employment, retooling. It changes the very nature of our economy. And I reject the message that's coming up the street here from Silicon Valley, the ivory tower doomerism, that is just going to result in mass unemployment. I live on the factory floor. I live in the ICU beds. The nurses are the first people to adopt this. It gives them more time to be with the patient. Or the submarine industrial parts manufacturer, where they have more time making the parts, less time munging the data to do it. I see a renaissance of how AI is actually empowering the blue-collar worker to get more done.
I want to bring us back to the headlines from the president in China, but in March you have a book coming out called Mobilize. I haven't read it, it's not out, but my interpretation is that you basically want to have some kind of national effort for deterrence. And I'm trying to understand deterrence of what?
Well, I think about it as the greatest risk to our country is not homicide. I'm not worried about the Chinese per se. It's suicide. It's that we lose the plot on what's actually happening. We're not focused enough on American greatness, that we don't believe in the need to aspire to do great things. Reindustrialization is part of that. If we're focused on moving the ball forward in this country every single day, we're going to be fine. We're not today. But I think that it's coming increasingly into focus.
There is this desire to run fast and break things once again a little bit in the world of defense and AI. And there has been reporting that perhaps some of the technology that's being built between where we sit right now, Anduril and Palantir, communications and GC2, was perhaps going too fast into the armed forces' hands, and there was questioning about its efficacy and its reliability. That has been pushed back. There has been a view that maybe that was old news that had been reported on by Reuters. What do you make of the reporting, and can you bring us up to speed with how diligent you are about the safety of the use of what you build?
Yeah, well, we're incredibly diligent about it. I think, if anything, we need to move even faster still. It is old news and inaccurate reporting. There are no vulnerabilities in the software. But we need to lean into this idea. This is the fundamental lesson of Ukraine. It is not what your weapon system does today. It is how quickly it adapts to what it needs to do tomorrow. What we should be training with, practicing, fighting around is adaptability, not the zeroth derivative, but the first derivative. And the person with the best first derivative is going to win. That's John Boyd's OODA loop, encapsulated right there.
Shyam, I think what's so interesting is how global you can go for us. And Palantir is the bedrock of what software is being built in the United Kingdom at the moment. We think what's happening just internationally, what the news is breaking today is an internationally driven story because rare earths have been cut off to Europe from China, not just to the US. How do you feel about geopolitics writ large at this moment and how Palantir is feeding into a Western strength or not?
I think that's the exact right question. Who is buying the Iranian oil? Who's keeping Iran afloat right now? The Chinese are. Who is building? We like to say Ukraine's building 4 to 5 million drones a year. Ukraine's assembling 4 to 5 million drones a year. The Chinese are building the parts for those drones. The Chinese are building drones on both sides here. Wang Li, the foreign minister, has told Ursula von der Leyen the Chinese have no interest in settling the Ukraine conflict. They view it as a proxy war with the West. They've been very explicit. We ought to listen to them and take them literally.
Shyam, in a world where the relationship between the US and China deteriorates, the critics of Palantir say, this is great for Palantir. This is what you want. You will thrive in an environment where there is conflict, economic or otherwise. Is that a fair sort of criticism, or is it something you say, oh, we absolutely accept that?
The vast majority of our business will continue to be commercial. The commercial business is growing twice as fast as the government business. No one with children seeks conflict in this world. This is the world we live in. We lost deterrence in 2014. The Russians took Crimea. In 2015, the Chinese militarized the Spratly Islands. We don't intend to be useful idiots that are along for the ride who are not saying what's actually happening. You could have made the same arguments in the 30s around the Nazis. Oh, you're a warmonger. You're a warmonger. Well, turns out the Nazis were a real problem.